It is Tuesday, May 26th, 2020, the day after Memorial Day. I'm here talking to someone who's been very gracious with her time and trying to call in today. She's out a little bit remotely in the nicer part of Georgia, out in Jekyll Island. Her name is Mrs. Karen Beavor. She is the president and CEO of the Georgia Center for Nonprofits. And I was put in contact with her recently regarding just a lot of people I've been interviewing for the COVID conversation series. And with Karen, we're going to talk about what has the nonprofit space been like and how that's been affected due to COVID-19. But before we get into that, I want Karen to kind of just introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Karen Beavor. I'm the CEO of the Georgia Center for Nonprofits. We are Georgia's statewide association for nonprofits and also one of the largest capacity builders for nonprofits in the country.
Okay. And starting with that, what does capacity building actually mean?
Yes, we do a lot of training on management, governance, and leadership, consulting, coaching for senior executives, and like I said, consulting for strategic planning, board governance, financial planning and workouts, revenue strategies, that type of thing. So anything management, leadership, and governance for nonprofits to help them manage better so they can make a bigger impact in community. That's what we do.
Okay. And I want to know, how did you get into the nonprofit space in the first place?
Yeah, well, when I graduated from college, I took a job working with homeless individuals, providing legal services to them. And then a job opened up at the time at the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, who incubated Georgia Center for Nonprofits. And I've been here for 24 years. We've grown into one of the largest, again, capacity builders for nonprofits in the country. And over that time period, and it's just been a wonderful ride. I get to be a part of so many different organizations' missions, from childcare to art to environment. We get to see them all and help them all, and it's been a great ride.
Okay. And with that said, I want to ask, and just jumping right into it, which is, we obviously know COVID-19 has affected a lot of industries across the U.S. And one thing I haven't really heard a lot about, which is why we're talking today, is how has that affected the nonprofit space in Georgia in particular?
Yeah, it's been really difficult for so many organizations. And, you know, nonprofits are not one thing, right? They're health and arts and environment and, as I said, childcare, youth development, just science, research, so many different things. And so if you are a nonprofit that is serving people like in a human services capacity, like a food nonprofit or child care or foster care or disabilities, I mean, your world has really spiked up because we've all heard those stories of, you know, for example, if your mom is staying in a long-term care facility and, you know, their staff is really, you know, working overtime because they're not able to get as much staff in there, or food, you know, as schools have shut down and the food insecure families are in need of food during the day when a child might have gotten a lunch or a breakfast. That has really spiked up. And in addition, all of the unemployed that happened immediately when COVID took off, all of that need from rent assistance to food to anything in terms of if you were financially insecure has come straight to nonprofits' door, not to mention health. So we've got, you know, all of the different nonprofit hospitals. Not a lot of people know that every single level 1 and level 2 trauma center in Georgia is a nonprofit hospital. And then we, of course, we have the charitable clinics as well as the federally qualified health centers, which provide a lot of care for chronic diseases in community. And of course, then homeless and trying to deal with that with this COVID crisis. So if you're on the front lines, your business has really spiked. And at the same time, volunteerism was way down because obviously you can't have that with the state shut down and social distancing. And so we've been doing a lot more with a lot less. And that's been very difficult. Same time, if you were a, you know, arts and culture group, for example, a museum or a theater, for example, you were immediately shut down. And so the ways in which that has affected nonprofits are twofold: the workforce and our volunteer workforce, but also revenues. You're just not able to, run your gala or your hunger walk, for example, your festival, your golf tournament. All those are operational dollars. And then on the other side, many nonprofits earn revenue because certain activities are supported by the state and paid through contracts. And if you're not performing those contracts, then you're not getting paid. And so it's really been hitting nonprofits right, left, and center, and just trying to deal with their workforce, trying to deal with the loss of revenue, severe immediate loss of revenue, much like the restaurants have gone through, and at the same time, caring for people that need the care in our community. We've always been open for business. We've never shut down in terms of our frontline providers, and all of the same things that affect healthcare have certainly affected, food service and rent and emergency assistance and homeless providers and all of those people, again, who are on the front line. So it's been very challenging, for sure.
Right. And one of the things that I was really impressed by with the Georgia Center for Nonprofits is that you all seem to be essentially a linchpin for, I'm going to say, maybe hundreds of different nonprofits. And with regards to
thousands, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, even thousands.
Yeah.
And so with that said,
yeah.
How has that been responding with your own needs internally with the needs of other organizations?
Right, and that's what we do. Our whole mission is to help other nonprofits succeed so they can make a bigger impact. And so when COVID first started happening, we saw, these immediate, issues around workforce and volunteer and just needing to kind of pivot strategies. And so we stood up a resource center. And, just like the phases of this pandemic have been going on, we've had phases to these resources. So the first, issues were just how to remain open safely and clean. And then it became all around the workforce and how to either retain the workforce you have safely while you're feeding people on front lines, and how to recalibrate how you do your work, because everybody's had to go to distance provisioning, or if you're like a food service organization, or you're having to distribute that more widely. It used to kind of go from a regional food bank out to a number of different food pantries, and then clients would come to the food pantries and pick up the food. Well, that had to go out to even a more dispersed area, to schools, and then out to, if you're senior food provider, to exponentially more singular homes. And so recalibrating strategies, helping navigate things like having to buy a lot more food at the very beginning if you're a senior food provider, working with the city in terms of helping them locate the kinds of providers that can do this work immediately. So we stood up a resource center that helped people guide through all of these different myriad of things. We started doing a bunch of webinars to help people understand the Families First Act. And as you know, that had some components that were not only around food provision, but around family medical leave and sick leave. And that pertains to nonprofit employees, just like it does to the employees in a for-profit. And then it became around the PPP loans and staying in business, and really trying to help nonprofits navigate what they could cut, what they needed to retain, how they recalibrated, how they navigated the PPP. And we did a bunch of town halls on that. Like I said, a lot of webinars and the resource center. And then we began to do individual help with different organizations and boards to help them navigate what you can't do in a class. You have to, at some point, do things specifically for your type of organization and your own organization. And so a lot of coaching and consulting, which is still going on right now, a lot more than it ever has, around helping nonprofits kind of navigate this. Unfortunately, there's some nonprofits that probably are not going to make it through this, and we're trying to help them close ethically or do some soft closures where they might be able to reopen later on. And then some are trying to navigate through because they have to. I mean, people in their community are counting on them for this food, counting on them for the childcare so they can go back to work, and counting on them for the services that they provide. And then, of course, we want our arts organizations to open because they're economic drivers in many communities across Georgia. And, a lot of times when people go to a theater production or a ballet, they go out to eat and they do a lot of different things. So we want to make sure that these are viable and doing what we can to kind of help strengthen and save the ones that we can and help them navigate. Thankfully, we've got a lot of amazing leaders and nonprofits that are stepping up to the plate and making it happen. So that's what we've been working on, kind of behind the scenes, trying to help these nonprofits navigate all the very complex and things that they're dealing with to adapt their programs, retain and strengthen their workforce for new kinds of digital work, and trying to help them understand the guidance for reopening, trying to help them formulate plans for kind of creative revenue sources and coming back, and then navigating, revenue losses and how they can kind of recalibrate their operations to do that in a way that makes sense for them.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's been difficult to hear so many nonprofits who are struggling right now, but it's also more rewarding to hear people like yourself who are still trying to be that aid and trying to be that resource with just information and support of all types. And I have to ask, in regards to what you're doing at the Georgia Center for Nonprofits, how can people actually support or help what you all are doing right now?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. One of the things that we do is called Georgia Gives Day, and that is a day of giving. We just actually orchestrated that about 2 weeks ago and helped nonprofits across the state of Georgia, raise on our website about 1.3 million, and there's a lot more that were raised directly. And so folks can go to gagives.org. They can search for any nonprofit that they care about. It might be one in their local community, or if you don't know that nonprofit, you could put in a keyword such as dog, and it might pull back Guide Dogs for the Blind or the Humane Society, or it could pull back child care centers if you put in child care, or boys and girls, or big brothers, big sisters if you put in youth development, for example. And I would encourage the public to just keep on giving through that. 100% of those funds go straight into those nonprofits, and it helps them replace some of this revenue. And of course, the Georgia Center for Nonprofits is also listed on there. So if you care about this kind of work and supporting boards and leaders and the organizations that make our communities vibrant and thrive, you can put in Georgia Center for Nonprofits and give to that. And we will use that those funds to help these nonprofits with this navigation and work throughs and all of the creative things that they need to do to stay viable and help our communities thrive and take care of our citizens. So that's how I think people can do. And that website again is gagives.org, or you can go directly to gcn.org. That's gcn.org. And that's Georgia Center for Nonprofits. If you want resources for your nonprofit, if you are involved with one locally or on a board or leading one out there, you can certainly go there. And there's a big resource center. It's right on the homepage called COVID. And you just pop into there, and it's got a ton of free resources that are on every imaginable area of nonprofit management and leadership in this time, and a lot of COVID guidance and resources and templates and tools that you can use. And then you can also support GCN directly from our website there if you care to.
Okay. And I want to actually ask something that's a little bit back, a little bit more serious, or like just a little thought provoking, which is there are some thoughts across the nonprofit space that nonprofits as a whole we could have an overall retraction in the number of nonprofits that exist this time next year.
That say what? I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, that we could have a retraction in just the number of nonprofits that are operational next year, this time next year.
Right.
Right. With that potential reality, has that crossed your mind in regards to how Georgia Center for Nonprofits is looking at how you will commit going forward to other nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, we have thought about that. And, we've gone through the Great Recession like everyone else, and, we had a lot of difficulty at that point too. And so again, what we're trying to do is, help nonprofits navigate this, looking at their finances, looking at their revenue, looking at demand from customers, different kinds of sources of revenue, or how they might collaborate with a peer organization, for example. But the reality is that not every nonprofit is going to be viable, and there are several different scenarios. You could merge, you could do a soft closure if you're an arts organization, maybe reopen at a later time that's where audiences are more comfortable coming back, and so therefore kind of saving some level of dollars and investment and effort until it becomes realistic. And then there are outright ethical closures. We don't want a situation where we have a nonprofit that's serving community members, and those community members are depending on that nonprofit, and just suddenly it disappears. And where they went to get their diabetes care, where they went to get their food is just gone at that point. We want to make sure that things are, if that becomes a reality, are closed in the appropriate and right way from a standpoint of customers, a standpoint of the vendors that they may owe money to or rent or things like that, and certainly in other ways that are legal. So we want to make sure that that happens. But I think there's a lot of creative ways to do this other than close. Sometimes it is necessary for a business to close, and that's no different for a nonprofit. But sometimes we can look again at soft closures. We can look at deep collaborations. We can look at mergers or combinations. And sometimes there's things that organizations haven't looked at, and they can be saved. And so all of those things are, potential, and it just requires an organization to reach out for help and to reach out for help and to speak with somebody that has gone through this before and helped a lot of organizations. And that's what we have. We have a bank of consultants that are on staff with us that can help nonprofits work through these issues, and as well as workforce issues. There's a lot of nonprofits that are furloughed staff that are, needing to adjust compensation and benefits. And sometimes if you don't know tactics and things of that nature, you can do something with your workforce like just cut off benefits when you could have maybe looked at a different strategy and saved some of those benefits, or looked at a different strategy for your workforce and perhaps saved some of those jobs. And so that's what we want to do, is work with nonprofits to help them navigate this, because we've been through it. I think our consultants are very knowledgeable, and particularly in revenue strategy, financial workouts, workforce, and governance, as well as strategy adaptation. So all of those things are stuff that people, if they need help, they should ask for it, because there's a lot of smart people out there that are willing to spend their time with these folks and help them out.
Okay. And I really appreciate you doing this for me, Karen. I know that right now this is a difficult time for any leader, in particular, a leader of leaders. And so I want to ask, in regards to this, just my last question for you, which is, what advice would you give to other people who are currently leading nonprofits who just are kind of just in the woods right now as to what to do?
Yeah. I think one of the most powerful things folks can do is to reach out and help, just reach out and ask for help. There's, if there's just nothing like talking to peers, because they have been through it before. One of the things, and I neglected to talk about this, that we did was create a nonprofit COVID coordinating task force. And we have 4 working groups comprised of, nonprofits, and there's business and government involved in it too, but mainly nonprofits. It's a lot of, CEOs, senior leaders of different kinds of nonprofits, everything from the Red Cross to the Salvation Army to, the Woodruff Arts Center to, all kinds, rural, small rural, Guy in Albany. So they're all getting together on a phone once a week, and some are working on coordinating services for vulnerable populations. Some are working on strengthening their organizations, but they're able to talk together, and we're able to share resources, share tactics, and kind of just innovative ways, creative ways of thinking of things. And that has been one of the most powerful things that help these leaders navigate this, because I have to say, when you are going through stress and leading a lot of things and you're not sure about it, it just requires support and conversation with your peers, with people who understand maybe maybe they have a model for how they're doing something in their own organization. I've seen this 1,000 times over the weeks now that we've done these working group calls, where somebody will say, oh, well, we're doing it this way. And the other one will go, well, can you share that resource? And they just share it right off the bat. People have what they need. And I think that's one of the most powerful things. And I would just say, keep in conversation, find yourself a group like that, or join our working group. We're happy to have more people on those calls. They're all free. They're all exactly what that's for. And then use your board is the second thing I would say. You know, you have a board of directors for a reason, and maybe call a meeting and just say, I need some support. I need, you know, I'm struggling through this and I need help to understand it. I just need a thinking group. Or if you don't feel you have that, try to put together your own thinking group of, you know, perhaps some nonprofit leaders, some business leaders in the area that you think would just think with you. There's nothing like a mentor during times like this. And I would say stay plugged into the resources like the gcn.org, read some of the resources, just be out there trying to kind of figure things out. And I know that's hard while you're in a panic or you're just feeling like there's just no way out of the box. But the only way out of the box is to reach out. And that's what I would say is just, we've put out a lot of these resources, the page on gcn.org, the task forces, the working groups, the free webinars where we have these discussions, and it's all free. It's all there for nonprofits so that they have that support system.
Okay. And thank you Karen, for taking out time to even talk to me today. And I'm glad that you actually gave out.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in the windiest place you could be, but I apologize. I hope it's coming through.
Oh, no, it's really good. I do want to ask you one last thing. Again, if someone wants to donate to Georgia Center for Nonprofits, or if someone wants to just be more involved with one of the organizations, how can they get in contact with you, or how can they donate?
Yes, gcn.org, and there's a donate button there, or gagives.org, and just put in Georgia Center for Nonprofits, and we'll come up and you can just hit the donate now button, and we will use that money to help these nonprofits with all of this assistance that they need to navigate this through, or they can find another nonprofit to support. But we would appreciate any support to help us do these resources that people could spare. That's great.
All right. And thank you once again, Karen, and the entire Georgia Center for Nonprofits. They do amazing work. Once again, you guys, if you haven't already, I'll put a link to where you can donate and check a look out for all the organizations that they help in some capacity. Once again, you're listening to King Williams. If you have not already, please subscribe to my newsletter at iamkingwilliams.substack.com. Again, iamkingwilliams.substack.com. Wherever you heard this, please like and review it. And once again, thank you, Karen, for taking out time to talk to me on such a windy day.
Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good one, Karen.
Thank you so much. You take care. Bye-bye.